Are you looking to join Cycling Men of Leisure for one of our rides in 2025? We've got a few things on our schedule.
That's right. We'll be attending Big Bragg and also the Bourbon Country Burn.
Big Bragg is in Georgia and Bourbon Country Burn's in Kentucky. Both places are going to be absolutely beautiful. We're going to have teams for both of those events. If you're looking to join us on our team, just send us a message. We'll tell you what to do.
So come on out. It's going to be a good time.
Absolutely.
Well, it's time for Road Adventures with Cycling Men of Leisure, the podcast for cyclists who understand that riding is not just about getting to the destination, but the experience along the way. Now, here are the original Cycling Men of Leisure, Adam and Michael.
Welcome to Road Adventures of Cycling Men of Leisure. Once again, I am Adam, and for part 2 of our Shoreline Recap, I'd like to welcome back my good friend, Mr. Michael Sharp.
Thank you, Adam. Happy to be here for part 2. Should be a good one.
Should be a good one. So the last time you and I were together, we were talking about Shoreline, Ride the Shoreline. And we ended with a listener. Yes?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say we ended with a listener spotlight. But before that, we were telling some stories, but I forgot something major.
Okay.
I forgot to ask you about the 8th grader.
The 8th grader in the room or in the house. Yes. Miya started 8th grade this year. And oh, what fun. Let me tell you. She's doing really well. She's been going to school for a couple weeks now. So okay. She's, fitting in and doing a good job so far. So
what, remind me, 8th grade, do you have like a homeroom or do you move around room?
No, it's just like high school. You're moving from class to class.
Okay. So does she have like a home teacher or no?
No, they don't do that at this school. So
gotcha. Well, it's time for me to get with the times. I'm sorry.
I'm sure they still do it in some places, but not here. So
is she, will she switch schools after this year? Will she be a freshman?
Yeah, she will go right around the building. The backside of the building, about a half a block, is the high school. They set like right next to each other. So
the traffic will be the same.
Traffic will be completely the same. And when she was in elementary school, that was 2 blocks away the other way. So, I mean, we've kind of just jammed all of our schools right in one general location, but it works.
But that's not bad. I mean, then that whole area gets taken care of and everything. So that's probably a good thing.
Everybody's watching out for safety, kids crossing, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Okay, well, please tell the VIP queen of the house that I asked about her, and hopefully she has a successful 8th grade on to bigger and better things as a freshman in high school next year.
Yes, well, let's not rush it, but I will let her know. Thank you.
I won't rush it. I understand you're probably going to have many nights of homework from being dad, so I've been there in person while you're doing that, so I can almost guess what you're going to go through. So
yes.
All right. Well, what do you think? Where should we start?
Well, even though this was a 2-part, so basically one podcast that we split into 2, we did do we're doing a listener spotlight for each. Right. So why don't we do the listener spotlight first? And then we'll move on.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for listener spotlight.
That's why I was getting ready to stop you. I thought you were just going to jump ahead beyond listener spotlight and go directly into your story. And I was like, come on.
No.
All right. Here is the clues that I provided for this episode's listener spotlight. This community started as a land grant.
Okay.
It is named for a local landowner. Iron was found in the area, and that became a major financial driver. And that was used to supply the U.S. Army. Okay. It is the home of a famous Revolutionary War hero. Because of a former resident of this town, bugs have a reason to live in fear. And finally, and the best one, this town has its own cryptid. When I say cryptid, I'm talking like, one of those creatures that's fabled to exist that no one's proven, Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, things like that. Any guesses?
No, I mean, when you mention the cryptid, I want to think like a foresty area. I mean, like all the jokes, and I shouldn't say jokes because there are many who believe, but like Bigfoot running off through the forest and everything. So, but no, I don't think I have any guesses. And while I'm stalling, let me just check the normal location that our good friend of the show, Steven, likes to write me at places. But
well, we didn't give him a lot of time this week, so I would be surprised if anybody sent anything in because they've only had like 3 days.
No, unfortunately. Not yet. So if so, we can always mention that before on the next show. So I do not have any guesses and no comments from the listeners yet.
Okay. Well, this week's listener spotlight is Beltsville, Maryland.
Beltsville, Maryland.
Yes, sir. Community started as a land grant. In 1649, the land was part of an 80,000 acre land grant given to Richard Snowden by Lord Baltimore of England.
Wow.
It is named for a local landowner by the name of Truman Belt. Iron was found in the area and it became a major financial driver. The Merkirk iron furnace produced some of the best quality pig iron in the country at the time. And it supplied the United States Army with cannons and shot and other iron products during both the Revolutionary War and the Civil War. It's home to a famous Revolutionary War hero, Brigadier General Risen Bale. And he is important and significant, especially to the people of Maryland. I'm sure you're sitting around going, why didn't Maryland ever have any big Revolutionary War battlefields? Well, that is thanks to General Resen Beale, who prevented a British invasion at Drum Point, which is on the Chesapeake Bay, with only 100 men. So he kept the British from getting into Maryland and is credited with the fact that there are no Revolutionary War battlefields in Maryland.
I cannot tell a lie. I've never been sitting around thinking that. But anyways, continue.
Okay, maybe not. Because of a former resident, this town's bugs have a reason to live in fear, and that is because this is home to a gentleman by the name of Lyle Goodhue. And Mr. Goodhue had a number of inventions, 20 some, I believe, patents. Among them was a thing called an aerosol bomb. We know it better as the bug bomb, invented by a gentleman from that town. And I know you're sitting around going, what cryptid do they have?
Well, I am thinking it now. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
See, I've got to prompt you into thinking it to make
That's
it work.
Right.
Beltsville has its own cryptid called the Goat Man, which is this human goat hybrid, often credited with canine deaths. Purportedly lives in the local woods. And the stories originated in the early 70s. But actually, some of the legends are set back in the 1930s. So I can't say that there's a goat man running around Beltsville, but they've got some stories. And honestly, if I was their school, I would change their mascot to the goat man. Or excuse me, the goat person.
Well, yes.
Or the goat people. Because no one else is going to have that as their mascot. I mean, it's unique.
Up and down the court, it is Sir Goat. He takes a 3-point shot.
And the goat people win another one, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. So there you got. Thank you, all the folks from Beltsville, Maryland.
Thank you, listeners from Beltsville, Maryland. Thank you, all listeners, but especially this episode, Beltsville, Maryland.
Keep looking for that goat man.
This is where I would love to do a goat impression, but I'll save it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So when we ended the last episode,
yes,
I cut you off because the episode was getting a little long, and this is a great story. We're in Mackinac City, and it was an awesome story. And I'm going to let you kind of give a little brief recap and then tell us what happened at the end.
So many times when you and I spend time together, it's a very humorous week. There's lots of laughing and joking and just being silly. And I'm known to say things like, oh, like that time you were in prison. And I
the looks I have gotten from some just strangers sitting at a booth or in a, bus or whatever is priceless.
And it's just amazing because I normally do that stuff when we've got people like eavesdropping. Like, there's one thing to be if you overhear someone's it's like being in an airport and someone's on the phone. If they're like, yeah, and then the guy was over and you can't help it but hear. But if you're just like minding your own business and someone's purposely listening, that's where I just get my jollies off by going, what can I say right now just to make the person go, what is going on over there? So that's why usually I say like, oh, like when you got out of prison, and people like they have looked at you like did that guy actually go to prison? He doesn't look like a guy who went to prison, So anyways, humor is I'm always laughing and joking, and there's a time to be serious, of course, and there's also a time you can have fun. So anyways,
we're very seldom serious though. In case people hadn't figured that out. So. Unless
I have to pedal uphill in the heat or rain, I'm pretty serious about that. I want to get off that bike. But so recapping the story, we were shopping in Mackinac City, which is not the island. It's a tourist city where you catch the ferry. And we were looking for something for our respective wives. I decided I was going to get like an ornament from like a ceramics store, like a collectibles or whatever. And I had asked the lady, I said, hey, can I ask you a strange question? And she thought I was going to say I'm on vacation, because I'm sure everyone who walks in there and says, hey, I'm on vacation. Like, no kidding.
What else would you be doing in Mackinac City?
But when I said I'm on a bicycle trip and I don't have a car, and she was very receptive and very kind and said, oh, I thought you were going to say you're on vacation. And so we hit it off right away. Her cynical humor and my cynical humor, we were like best friends, and so she gives some bubble wrap in a box for the ornament, and the girl next to her says, I'm assuming coworker or whatever, and she says, are you guys going out to the island? And we said, yeah, part of the tour is we get to go to the island. And we kind of asked her, like, where do people with, we don't have a car, so where do people with bicycles go? And she's like, oh, you go to the left where the pedestrians are. Anyways, and so I said, hey, can I ask you something? And she says, yeah. And I said, I like to mess with people, just kind of joke around. Would you be receptive of me? Oh, no, I'm sorry. I skipped the part. She said, oh, well, my sister works on the island.
Mm-hmm.
Very important to the story.
Yes.
And she says, my sister works on the island. I said, oh, really? And she said, yeah, she works in the fudge shop. And I said, well, just, one fudge shop is just one.
There's only 12 on the island.
Yeah. And she's like, no, she works at Joanne's. And I said, oh, she's like, yeah, stop by and see her and say hi or whatever. And at first she was being serious. And then I said, hey, would you mind if I mess with her? And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, I was a wedding photographer, and I used to like find out information about somebody just to make the crowd laugh, to get more smiles because nobody really wants their picture taken besides the bride and groom. Everyone else is like, all right, we'll take the pictures at a wedding. So I usually would use humor to do that. And so she's like, no, that's so funny. She's like, my sister's name is Jess, and she works at Joanne's, and you can find her over there. And so I said, okay, thank you so much. And she said, no problem. And we went back to camp, and, beautiful sunset pictures that night. And then we took the ferry out to the island. And we already told in part one, if you listen to it, this is repetitive, but if you haven't, we rode around the island, which with our friends. We went up to the bridge, a natural stone bridge. We went up to the fort, and then we went up to Skull Cave, which again had no skulls, and hardly was a cave, but all good. And so we come back, and we went to Winchester's, and we had a bourbon, and we come out, and I see Joanne's, and I'm like, hey, I go, don't forget, we got to go say hi to Jess. And you're like, oh yeah, that's right. And so we walk in there, and I said, is Jess here? And the girl goes, no. she's off today. And I said, without skipping a beat, haven't even thought about it, just out of my mouth, I go, would you tell her 12th grade boyfriend said hi? And she goes, and she goes, oh, from Mount Pleasant? And I go, yep.
Mm.
And it's like a psychic, a psychic goes, oh, tell us something about, when you lived where? When I was from Georgia? Yeah, when you were in Georgia, So when she said from Mount Pleasant, I mean, serious as a heart attack, straight faced, I said, yeah, from Mount Pleasant. And she's like, oh, no, I'll tell her you said hi. And you and I walk out slowly without trying to laugh or anything. And we start laughing. And then what made it even more funny, which is we started to wonder the different scenarios that were going to take place when Jess got back to work. Was it going to be the following? Hey, you missed your 12th grade boyfriend who came by yesterday. And was it going to be, I hate that son of a gun? Or
I thought he was still in prison.
Yeah, exactly. Or what are you talking about? I married my 12th grade boyfriend, Or then we started like on the ferry, we were laughing about it so hard. We're like, what if we just caused her like a major riff? What if she's like, that creep, I told him to stay away, but it was just so funny and just the way that it happened. So all I hope is that Jess came back to work the next day and at least someone said, you missed your 12th grade boyfriend. So
hilarious story. When you said that, I turn around because I'm trying to keep a straight face. And I literally started walking towards the door after she said the Mount Pleasant thing, because I was like, now we don't know if this gal went to Mount Pleasant or how well she knows Jess.
Right.
Or anything like that. And it's like, this could turn into like this big conversation, which, could blow up in your face. So I'm walking to the door because I'm like, if I'm standing near the door, I can say, hey, the guys are ready with our bikes. We got to get on. Let's go. They're waiting for us to pull you out of it if you needed to, but you didn't need to. It was beautiful. And as soon as she said Mount Pleasant, you were like, yeah, I went to Mount Pleasant.
And then I even mentioned, I said, yeah, and her sister works in Mackinac City.
Yep.
And the girl goes, okay, I'll tell her.
Totally sold it. It was awesome.
Well, listen, gotta have fun.
She is probably still wandering around. If she doesn't still have a connection with her 12th grade boyfriend,
right? She's
probably like, what the hell? I mean, and then they'll say, well, he was like in a cycling outfit or something. And it's like,
he hated cyclists. He says they're always on the road and they don't abide by the laws.
Man, he was always a monster truck guy. What?
That's right. He tried running them over. So, but no, we figured we'd share that story. It's funny. So, and this is what cycling trips are all about, guys. So don't miss out. Ride the Shoreline. So
or ride any ride. I mean, they're all just always have these great stories, interesting people. Yeah, it's just fantastic. It's a good time.
In the beginning of the show, we've never told this actually, but you were extremely instrumental in putting together our NASA girl. We told that story that she does work for NASA, but we've never told how that came together. And you actually worked really hard on that and thinking of some way to say like, hey, it's not about the destination, but it's the people you meet along the way and the stories and everything. And so those are the stories that happen. And I told that story at work, and I got to tell you, my boss is the most straight-laced, oh yeah. I told that story, and he almost spit his coffee everywhere. He's like, oh, I can see you doing that, Adam. So, but anyways, I just figured we'd tell that. I would like to take this moment to jump back into Shoreline, but doing that by transitioning to our friend Eric. And we met a gentleman in Michigan who literally came up to us and said, hey, I signed up to this ride after listening to your show. So
right off the bus, we had just traveled from Traverse City to Alpena. We're getting off the bus. We're unloading gear. We're getting our stuff. And that was like the first conversation we had with anybody. He's like, I'm here because of you guys. I was like, okay.
And I don't know about you, but a part of me goes, hey, that's awesome that you listened to our show. Another part of me goes, ooh, hope you're not disappointed.
Yeah, that's what's always in the back of my mind. It's like, ooh, it's like Georgia. I feel pretty confident when people are like, we're here because, we heard about it on your guys' show and that kind of thing. At this point, I feel very confident that, you're going to have a great week. Going into a ride that I've never been at, I'm like,
on behalf of Adam
and Michael,
we both want to say thank you
for your support.
He's on his bicycle, he's camping, he's meeting friends. And by the end of the week, he was very, very popular. I mean, I kept seeing many people go up to him and say, "Hey, Eric, hey." I mean, so he definitely likes to have a good time. So, Eric, thank you for listening to the show.
Thank you.
It was great to meet you. Glad we could provide a little swag to you while we were out there in the shoreline area.
And hopefully we can ride with him again because he has been to Ragbri and actually used the same charter we did, one of the same years that we did. So maybe we'll run into him again.
There's not that many cyclists left out there, is there? But we're gonna pass. Our paths will cross again, hopefully. So
let's hope so.
Not literally. Let's see here. Let me check my notes. Oh, you know what else we had in Shoreline? And we're going to get into some reviews here in a little bit of what we thought about the ride. But we had a pretty cool picture opportunity. At one of the SAG stops, we had a brag spotting where there was someone wearing the 2022 farm jersey. Ding, 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 ding. And then there was the Lakes and Libations jersey. And so I said, "Hey, guys, you mind if we take a picture?" And they probably both of them thought I was probably nuts, which more nuts than usual. People think that about me. And I said, "I'd love to send it to Franklin." And so they both cheered up and said, "Yeah, no problem." So we took a picture and sent it to Franklin. He put it on Insta, as the kids would say. I say Instagram, but I'm almost 50. So, but
now, was that the day you were wearing your brag jersey or not?
No.
Oh, that would have been great to have the last 3 years of brag represented there. But we saw a lot of brag jerseys because there was one day that couple was wearing their full farm kits, as we call it. And if you haven't seen it, you go look at our Facebook page or something. You'll see pictures of us. They look like you're wearing overalls and jean shorts and things. But and there was a couple of other brag jerseys there too. The Lakes and Libations and stuff. So a lot of Georgia representation.
A small side note is the year that we really rocked that farm jersey. We wore it many rides, and we actually found a place I think called John's Socks, and we bought boot socks, and so it looked like a pair of cowboy boots, and so we lived it up. So. So anyways, the brag spotting, then Franklin put on Instagram, and so that was cool. Let's see here.
And then when we left Mackinac, that's when the ride got super beautiful.
Yes, I'm going to back up just for a second, only because I'm looking at my notes, and we went to a concert in Mackinac City. We went to a brewery.
Oh, we did, yeah.
And so the events director, Neil, had set up a concert. And actually, it was like half of the band. It was supposed to be a 4-piece band, but 2 of the band members couldn't be there. But you know what? Those 2 gentlemen rocked it out, and it was peaceful and did a great job. And we went to a brewery there, and it was outdoor, and there was a fire pit, and just a really cool setting. I have nothing to hide. I won't lie to you. The beer, I wouldn't. It was very
a little bitter for my taste. Yeah, we actually had different types of beer.
Yeah,
and we both thought it was bitter, but to each their own. But the 2 guys, acoustic guitars, played some covers, played some of their own stuff. It was nice.
And for us, I think this is important for the show. That was the first night that we really got to collaborate with the Padres team. I would say the owners of Padres, and we kind of had like initial hey,
they came over to me, and was like, "Okay, I've got to ask. I keep seeing this cycling men of leisure thing. What is this all about?"
Right.
Because we had seen him in Georgia, we had seen him in Ragbri. I mean, we've see them all. I think they were at Bourbon Country Burn. I mean, we've seen them everywhere. But he came up, engaged us, talked a little bit about it, and it was really cool that we got to spend some time chatting with them about their business and that type of thing.
And then you're right. Then getting back to the ride, you and I and Dalmac on a prior Michigan ride together, we went north, up the tunnel of trees, or north towards Mackinac City. And this time the route took us from Mackinac City south to Charlevoix. Pretty long day in the saddle that day, 75, 76 miles, something like that. But man, that tunnel of trees ride is
beautiful.
Is beautiful. I mean, off to your right all day long was the coast of Lake Michigan, and you'd go a while and you'd be kind of like in a wooded section, and then you'd come up on a hill, and then it would just be just the coast, and you could see for miles and miles Lake Michigan. And then of course it would come back through, and the reason why they call it tunnel of trees is 20 something miles of that, or 21 miles, I believe. I might have that wrong. At least 20 miles is one single lane. And it's shared by tourists of all likes, motorcycles, cars, little spiders that you see, and bicycles. And there was like at least three bicycle tours out there besides us that were out there. So I'm sure they were probably thinking the same thing I was thinking. You're going the wrong way. So,
but that whole stretch is just, there's glimpses where you see, but overhead, you're pretty much covered in canopy.
Yep.
The whole way. I mean, it's just beautiful, nice windy roads, no big hills, just a few little rollers in places. It's just beautiful ride.
And we got lucky. I mean, the weather, we're going to talk about the weather in a little bit, but for the first 7 days, perfect weather, beautiful weather, which alludes you to one day it wasn't perfect.
We'll need to talk about that.
But so the day we were in the tunnel of trees, lucky, and then that ride takes you through Elk Rapids and Petoskey, and I mean all kinds of places. And so,
what's that one town? All the fancy homes.
Oh, beautifully Harbor Springs.
Yes. Oh, I love that place.
Harbor Springs is just to kind of picture it. It's on the coast, and every home reminds you, if you've seen the movie Gran Torino, where all those beautiful homes are. I mean, we're talking huge homes. And rumor has it, those are all like summer homes for like corporations. And I don't know if that's 100% true, but it's just amazing, beautiful.
Because who really wants to live on the shores of Lake Michigan that far north in the wintertime?
Exactly. So
beautiful neighborhoods, though. Well manicured lawns. I mean, I'm telling you, the lawnscaping companies are making a fortune. Of course, they have to be a little bit better than just, the guy next door mowing the grass, but beautiful.
This is true. And we were going to eat in Harbor Springs. Actually, we discussed it, and then we got out our maps and saw that, yes, I do mean maps, people. We got out our maps and saw that Petoskey was about 14 miles down the road. And so we said, why don't we wait till Petoskey? And we stopped at a place called Beard's Brewery, and we got to actually sit outside and look over the water, which was really cool because across the bay, if you will, we could see where we had cycled down through. And that was really neat to be able to see that. So
what, it was like 10, 14 miles by bike. It could have been 3 miles swimming. Not that I could swim 3 miles, but I mean,
it's difficult to swim with your bike above your head.
That's why I have the floaties for my bike.
That's right.
Remember, I was prepared. So if the car came off the bridge, saved my bike, well, I could have deployed those for this situation too.
What nobody knows is you ended up with some floaties. So
I did.
Not for your bike per se, but
yeah, it was funny. Some water wings. Yep.
Yeah. So that was cool. I mean, we had we had lunch there in Petoskey, and then made it to the state park, which you and I have been to before, and that's where the last SAG stop for the day is. And then we stuck with tradition. You know that?
We did stick with tradition. It's an odd tradition, but it is so leisuring that I love it.
So we came into Charlevoix, and there's a grocery store there, and we were running a little low on bourbon. And, I mean, nobody wants to run low on bourbon. And so we went into a grocery store that we went in before on Dalmac. And if you ever heard that story, I like to wear bibs when I'm riding. And so on Dalmac, we were running low. So we walked in the grocery store, and I bought some Woodford Reserve, opened up my bibs after paying for it, opened up my bibs.
It's important to note.
And rode 20 miles with Woodford Reserve tucked right close to me. And so this time we were coming through town, and it's a good thing we did, by the way. We decided to stop in there, and this time we got some Buffalo Trace, and I rode with it. This time I only had to ride with it like 4 miles to camp, uphill, out of town. And I didn't want to do that hill again. So we were able to sit back and have some Buffalo Trace. So 2 years, or not 2 years in a row? No. 2 times, I'll say, we went to the grocery store there, and same grocery store, same aisle. And
what are the odds that we would end up in Charlevoix?
Yeah.
3 years apart, 2 different rides, and we needed bourbon.
Odds are pretty good that we need bourbon. No, I'm just kidding. So,
that's right, they are.
I mean, look behind me here. You
need some bourbon.
This one, or this one, or this one, or one over there. So, so then we made it to Charlevoix, and looking at my notes, we spent a lot of time with Team Grit, and I thought we should mention Team Grit.
The ladies at Team Grit.
The Team Grit. Our first interaction is they said, "What is Cycling Men of Leisure?" And of course, everyone always wants to know what it's all about. And so then the next day we had Cycling Women of Leisure, and she's like, "Oh, you do represent ladies." I'm like, "We represent anybody."
We do.
But wanted to mention Team Grit and something special they did. They had days they had a full jersey of giraffe spotted. Boy, I mean, if you rode by that, you would not miss those ladies. So,
well, it was like the base fabric was like fluorescent colors, like pink and green and yellow, and then on top of that, they had the black spots.
Right.
And we had been informed that they had this special. I don't think they were supposed to tell us, but they said our giraffe jerseys, and then they're like, we said we wouldn't tell anybody. And then I think, they wore that, and they were a fun group.
And what was really interesting about that, so if you are listening to this and you haven't been on any cycling tours and you're thinking about it, A, do it. B, please understand that meals are sometimes provided by churches, sometimes provided by schools, sometimes caterers come in. In Mackinac City, we actually had the church across the street from the high school provide a phenomenal breakfast.
It was good. And not just a great breakfast. We actually had real plates,
right?
Real silverware,
right?
I mean, most of the time I get it. They're using paper plates and things because it's easier and stuff, but nope.
Hey, Adam, I need a Coke.
Sounds good. We'll be back after a quick break.
I felt like and not only that, but those young men and women who were helping, like, well, what can I get you? Can I get you?
They were hustling.
They were definitely, and hope anything I can do to make your day better. Well,
you can ride my bike a couple miles.
How do you feel about riding 77 miles from here? So, but what was funny about that day is that's when the ladies came in with their Team Grit came in with their giraffe jerseys, and I thought, oh boy, here we go.
They got some applause too when they showed up in those.
They sure did.
Yeah.
Kind of going through my notes here. Then after after Charlevoix, and we're going to get into the review here, but after Charlevoix, we made our way to Traverse City. And on the way to Traverse City, I must tell you that we stopped by this, what was it called? Flint Fields?
This was a cool thing. Never seen this before, but we had the opportunity. One of the rest stops was at Flint Fields Horse Park. And you could go and you could get your SAG stuff. But they had, like super long golf carts that you could hop on there and take a ride. And it took you all the way through this. And what Flint Fields is it is a Olympic level show jumping facility for horses.
It was amazing.
And, we went through that. I mean, basically they're there all summer. It's like a small little town. I mean, they've got the place you can buy your horse supplies and the horse pharmacy and the post office area. And I mean, this is just what we saw. And then you go up here and you could see on the hillside, as you're getting close to the international arena, as they called it, all the different jumping props that they have that horses jump over. And then it dumps you off at this huge, like, white circus tent looking thing. And you knew you were in a place that there was some money floating around, because they had a trailer that was probably 12 foot by, 20 foot, that sold high-end jewelry right out front before you walk in. And then you walk in and there's all this really nice seating that's covered. They've got a complete full-size bar. You can look off to your right and see the horses practicing. And then right in front of you, there's a whole facility laid out. And I'm going to post some of my pictures to our site.
Cool.
All laid out there, and they were jumping. And like I said, these are, Olympic level, they said. Now, I don't know if we saw the Olympic level because we were there with the Olympics. So I think probably all the Olympic, people were, doing their thing over in Paris. But I mean, it was phenomenal. These people were good. Some of the things these horses were jumping over were incredible.
There was something two things that we saw there that was really interesting is, just as in any sport, then like, the Zamboni for ice arenas or whatever, we saw this like tractor display, and there were these guys, and it was like an orchestration. They were driving the tractors, pulling behind like things
to level out the field.
Yeah. And I mean, it was like a full orchestration. I mean, there was like four
tractors going all over this thing that's larger than a football field. And they're just like flying around. They're not running into each other. It's like they almost had this little synchronized thing. You're hitting this, you're going around that. I'm going around this. We cross paths. I mean, it was incredible.
I almost wanted to hold up like a thing like 9.9 for the tractor drivers, but
you and the John Deere, you lost a half a point for that, sloppy turn.
The other thing that I thought was really interesting there is you mentioned the jewelry trailer. We actually got to cycle. Our team was comprised of 4 members. It was yourself, myself, our good friend Juan, and a new friend that we had. And I think
Amir.
we're gonna do more journeys with him, Amir. And so the 4 of us were together. But I looked around and I saw Amir in like this massage chair. Now, I'm sure all of you have been to Costco, and the guy's there standing there, and he's got the chairs, and he's going to offer you to sit down and try out these like $9,000-$10,000 massage chairs.
Full body massage chairs.
I see all these cyclists lined up inside of these chairs, and I'm thinking to myself, how much money is got to be floating around that place that this guy who sells massage chairs thought he'd be successful by bringing them to a tent in the middle of nowhere. So
right outside of Traverse City.
So, anyways, Amir was in one, and next thing you and I look, he's got the contract in his hand, and he's looking at different ones. And so I'm thinking for sure that Amir
is going home with one.
And he had told us about his living accommodations and his current accommodations. I thought, man, is this thing going to even fit in your current place? And so when he got back to camp, I said, did you buy it? And he's like, no, I found it cheaper on Amazon. I have been looking, but I'm also not sure I want it because of the size of my place. And I was like, okay, but I thought for sure he had purchased it, but
yeah, but he lives in like a penthouse type apartment or something, double balconies, and so.
Oh, he's Yeah,
The
definitely.
chair would have fit right in, let me tell you.
Oh, yeah. You don't need to have company. Forget you. I'm going to sit in my chair all day. So
Exactly.
But definitely a neat place. And then coming into Traverse City, kind of mixed emotions. You and I talked about this, where you and I are used to doing A to Z tours, where like in Georgia, like our first year in Georgia, we went from Columbus to Brunswick. From starting in one location, ending in the other, and so this was a ride that started in Alpena, got to Traverse City, and then the last day was literally riding up to Mission Point and then coming back to Traverse City. So it's kind of like you're at the end, but you're not at the end, but there's still another day to ride. And so it's kind of a mixed emotions.
Yeah, we're used to getting to a final destination and like, woo, we're here. Let's celebrate, take a shower, let's load up and go. But yeah, it was a little different.
And we should have probably left because the next day we decided to ride. And so, but
okay, the day started out fine. Normal,
sure.
We had to take our gear down.
Yep.
No problem. They served us breakfast at this nice outdoor covered amphitheater.
Very nice.
In this park. The food was very good. And right about the time we got over there and started eating, started misting a little bit. Nothing big. No big deal. And then we got on our bikes. We started riding. We get 3 miles out of town, and it really starts coming down. And the wind is whipping, and we're right along Lake Michigan, and the waves are crashing up, raining. I stopped, I don't know, it was probably mile 3. I stopped underneath this tree. You guys are right behind me. And I was like thinking, well, at that time I was going, you know what? We had the option to just drive out here. And here we are on our bicycles in this mess. The only redeeming thing is Juan kept saying, well, according to my AccuWeather thing, by 10 o'clock, this is all going to be out and it's going to be sunny. Now, my weather app didn't show that. And I don't think your weather app showed that either.
No. I kept looking at mine over and over and over and looking at the radar and looking at different things. And it looked like it was going to clear up. And then, ironically, we decided to go for it. We're already there. This is the last day. We're gonna finish the adventure. And we get up to Mission Point, where the lighthouse was. And out of nowhere, blue sky, clouds. I mean, sun, blue. Now,
literally in the parking lot, we pull in.
Yep.
Clouds part.
And take a picture. We took some video. We took a picture. Literally get back on the bike, and we kind of took a little jaunt into like an old area, which was like a party store that had gone out of business many moons ago, which was very teasing.
1915.
Yeah, because what's weird is on the side of the building it said espresso, and I thought I would do anything for an espresso right now. I am so cold. My feet were freezing. And it opened up, and it did not stop raining until we got back to the car. 40 something mile day. And I bet you at least, fair to say 75% of the day was raining. So,
yeah. And a couple of times it was coming down really, really good. And, with the rain, you've always got to look at the roads a little bit more, slow it down in a lot of places, gets a little slicker, that oil and stuff on the road starts coming up. So, and then the wind was blowing, and I don't think it got above 60 degrees that day while we were out there in the saddle. So it was wet. It was cold.
It was.
And we thought 40 miles, that'll be like no big deal. But under those conditions, it was pretty, probably the most miserable day we ever rode. But we did get to see the lighthouse, and it was, not raining, and it was decent weather at the lighthouse. So that kind of made it worthwhile.
I imagine that on a regular day, that trip would be beautiful.
Beautiful.
And so, but that's all right. That's, you got to roll with the punches.
Could have had 7 days of weather like that. You just never know.
Oh, I would have called my wife.
You called your wife anyway. What's the big deal? She wasn't going to come and get you.
The extra keys are sitting here. Get the van. Come get me. So, but no, I wouldn't.
She would have said, "Get on your bike, ride, stop your complaining and whining.
I think she was in Ohio, actually. I don't think she could have done that, but
she might have said, well, for Michael, I'll drive up there and, but I don't know. Maybe not.
So anyways, great ride. Luckily, that was the day they actually had a shower truck and the heat was working.
Oh, my God. I stood in there and just with hot water because my feet were cold.
Yeah.
My feet were cold.
I was freezing and I just kept, if no one's ever used a shower truck, some are different. Some just have on and off, but some have a button that you push and there's like a timer, like 30 seconds.
Yeah, you get like 30 seconds of water.
Just like washing your hands in the bathroom or whatever. And so, I just.
But you get to control the temperature, so you can make it as hot as you want it. So
then we got in the van and I turned the heat on the whole time we were. There's like 4 stalls in the shower, and normally we joke and like, we got to get out of here and we got to go to town or whatever. You and I both weren't even talking to each other. I think we were both just trying to feel our toes again.
Thaw out.
So I've got some closing remarks of our ride with Shoreline.
Yeah, I got a couple things too. So
you set the stage in part 1 by saying that, that this is the second year that the director was being paid to do this. They did go through a minimizing stage where they closed like 6 of the rides and then reinvented 2 of them up in Shoreline. Neil's a great guy, and I've worked with him on other projects. His advocacy is so passionate, and everything he does is top notch. That being said, I think that the LMB needs to give him some more power, and I don't want to say power, but they need to latitude, and everyone is aligning with the same message. It's like I tell my employees, you can't sing one song this way and you can't sing a song the next day a different way. Everyone has to be singing on the same sheet of music. And if we have problems behind the scenes, then that's for us to know, but not for the general public to know. And so unfortunately, with what you and I saw, the staff was kind of competitive a little bit, the volunteers versus the non-volunteers. And so I wish Neil luck on trying to get some of that straighting. I want to talk about some of the pros. I thought that the food and the caterers did a great job.
No complaints here. Breakfasts were outstanding.
Absolutely. Every day.
I mean, the dinners were good too, but I mean, when I ride and I get a certain kind of idea of what I'd like to have for dinner. So when you sit into that situation, you're kind of stuck with what you got.
Yeah.
But breakfast always had a wide variety. No complaints.
I thought that the camping locations that they provided were adequate and nothing they could have done better.
Quality spots.
Quality. Everything
Plenty of
was
room.
good. I think there was, as you always say, time, energy, and effort was put forth to the cyclists that may want an beverage that has more octane than water. I think there was some things thought about that where certain camping spots in certain areas would be like, okay, well, this is a school campground, but if you camp over there, then you're not on school property. So I think there was some thoughts put behind on that. Although I won't tell a lie, on nights that those wasn't allowed, I still had more than octane water. So let's see here. I'm trying to think. I thought that the night that we were in Mackinac City, that was nice to have a shuttle to go back and forth to the brewery. So thank you for that. In Sheboygan, there was a shuttle bus to go back and forth to town. We were a little bit away, and one of Neil's friends, who was a cyclist, a racer, was, I believe, ran the transportation or trained on the transportation, and so he volunteered his time. So I want to send a thank you to him. Northern Exposure, we've used those guys before. They were at Traverse City, so I appreciate those guys. But a couple things I want to make sure that I get across, and then I'm going to give you the floor and make sure I don't interrupt you. When Neil came on the show to announce Shoreline, announce the route, there were some things that he stated that was going to be at the ride, and unfortunately, like he mentioned, food trucks. And you and I have been to many rides before that had food trucks, and so I expected to come into town, pull into the school, and pull into the park, the school, the arena, or whatever, and there'd be some food trucks there. And so the first night I was like, no food trucks tonight. And then the next night, and I started to realize there was never going to be food trucks. And so I think maybe the ideas were there, but maybe with the low participation, maybe the funds weren't there. I'm not sure what it takes to bring a food truck on. I've never brought a food truck on, so I'm not sure if those who have food trucks have their own licenses and take all the risk versus reward, or if you have to pay them. I honestly don't know. But
I've used food trucks before.
Okay.
Several years ago in my auction business, and different state, different time. But at that point in time, I didn't have to pay them anything.
Okay.
I would bring the crowd. They would set up. I mean, they took their chances on what they'd sell, but yeah. But who knows how they do it nowadays.
Hey, Michael, I need a coffee.
Okay, we'll be back right after this message.
I felt that the SAG stops could use some help. And this is not an insult towards Neil or the LMB, but in general, you and I have been very lucky or very stupid to do many rides. You pick your battles of what you think the correct answer is. We come from a very core of our podcast, which is a lot of our friends listen from Georgia, and we've done brag a lot, and people have heard us talk about that. But we'd like to do other rides as well. But when you go to brag and you go to a SAG stop, you are not leaving wanting anything. I mean, there's peanut butter and jelly for those who want peanut butter and jelly, and pimento cheese, and all. I mean, just a plethora of sweet snacks, salty snacks, pickles, pickle juice if you're looking. And the first day, I thought the SAG stops were great. I was like, oh, okay, well, we're going to have X and Y and Z, and okay, that's what I expect. Okay, thank you. Many times you and I would come in the SAG stops and there would be almost no food. There would be pretzels, hard pretzels, and in a bag, and they were warm. And now normally a soft pretzel that's warm is wonderful, but when you come off the road and you're hungry, so I feel as though maybe some effort needs to be put forth from the LMB and Shoreline to have some better items at the SAG stops, in my opinion. Maybe I'm out of bounds, but that's just my opinion. So, also on the interview, he mentioned that there's going to be shuttle buses every night. And I think that for me, when I hear that, being a rider that's been to Ragbri with you 5 times, I know you've been 6, but on my 5, I've been with you. Being a guy who runs shuttle buses on a regular basis, I assume that I'm going to come in and it's going to be the small bus with the yellow standee line, and we're going to have to stand behind it, and we're going to go. And there's a few nights where I really thought that the mark was missed. And
Sure.
I mean, when we were in Charlevoix, to paint a picture, we were about 3.5 miles out of town. Yes, I had a bicycle. I understand that. But Charlevoix has some beautiful restaurants that have like outdoor seating areas. I don't want to worry about a bicycle. I don't want to worry if I walk down to one of those areas or go to a restaurant. I don't want to have to like keep looking over my shoulder to look to see if my bicycle is still there. And so being told there'd be shuttle buses, I was kind of expecting there would be shuttle buses. I also didn't want to ride 3 miles down, have a couple of cocktails, be feeling good, then have to ride back up the hill in the dark. I didn't think that was safe either.
Plus, you'd already rode 76 miles that day. So adding an extra 6-7 miles on it wasn't really enjoyable.
For me, those were some areas that could improve. And I'm sure I'm missing some, but I just wanted to give a fair review from my side and give you a chance to just maybe I'm missing something.
No, I completely agree with you on all of what you had to say there. I think one of the big things for me is they said, you have to provide your own lunch. No big deal. I don't have a problem stopping in a restaurant, buying lunch, convenience store. What I think they didn't do a good job of, for the people who had never been, or certainly even if you've been there, you're never thinking about this. If you're like on a family vacation or stuff, those first 2 or 3 days, there was really no place to stop.
Good point.
I mean, there might be a party store, but you're not thinking, oh, there's a party store. There'll be another one up, 10 miles or so. But I mean, there was, not many restaurants. I know there was one day we ran into a restaurant that was like at a golf course, and I was thinking about stopping. I was like, no, there'll be something else. And there wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not bad that you provide your own lunch, but just let the riders know that, hey, there's really not a lot of places. And, on your 60-day ride today, there's 3 places, there's 2 party stores and a restaurant or something where you can stop. Now, the last 3 days, it's more heavily populated and there is more options, but those first 3 days, they got to be long days with not a lot of opportunity to, go to a party store, which for us normal people, it's called a convenience store, but we won't get into that right now. But I think that was one of the big things for me that I had.
Normal people? Normal.
What's that?
I said normal people? For us normal people?
Central time zone people,
Oh,
normal people.
my.
But
actually, when I first moved to Michigan, someone said, yeah. I said, hey, where can you buy beer? I thought, maybe it was a state-run, it was, a state store.
Liquor store.
And they're like, no, you just go to the party store. And I'm like, party store? Is that, where you just have the parties or what?
We have a party store,
yeah.
But you buy streamers
and
paper plates and Halloween costume. There's no alcohol in the premises. So
we got one of those too, but no, that when I first moved here, people were like, yeah, you go to the party store. And then you see signs that'll say party store 1, party store 2, like the same owner, owns a bunch of them. So for those who are curious who are at home, I'm being serious. The party store sells wine, beer, sometimes liquor.
It's like a convenience store. I mean, they'll have snacks and they'll have like you say, the liquor section, and maybe some of them have like hot snacks, sandwiches and things, and candy bars.
Everything you need to party, baby.
So now that we've cleared up the party store for the folks that, do their shopping at convenience stores.
Right.
But no, the campsites were good. The facilities, I didn't really have any issues on camping and the locations. I agree with you on the sag stops. Some of those were kind of weak. So, and like I said on the last episode, I'm willing to give them some leniency because they are changing their model over.
Yeah.
I've worked in business long enough where, we've changed systems over or models over, things like that. And I know how that goes. I mean, it doesn't happen overnight. And it takes some time. I do have to agree with you. Standard procedures, get everybody on the same message, have standard procedures for when they're checking in. This is how we do it, and train everybody on it.
Right.
And, at night, just get everything. So it's just this consistent way so that when you're a cyclist and you come in, you know exactly what to expect and kind of the layout of where you can expect to find some of this stuff and how it works. One thing that I really did like, and honestly, I'll be honest, going in, I thought it was kind of maybe overkill, was he had little nightly rider sessions.
Right.
Writer meetings, whatever you want to call it. I really wouldn't call it a meeting, and I thought, you know what, that's kind of like, but I think they are beneficial. I obviously wouldn't work at Ragbri. I don't really know if they'd work in Georgia, but for a ride this size and that type of thing, I think they work really good. He got everybody together, or everybody who wanted to get together at 7:00 every night, whether it be inside, outside, whatever the facilities would allow. And, he kind of went over the next day. Here's what you can expect. Here's our mileage. This is what we're doing. Here's a couple highlights you might want to hit, things like that. Like I said, I would have kind of said, what's the point? But in listening to it after a couple of days, it's like, okay, that's beneficial. I can see where that would definitely help not just new riders, but riders who are new to the area of Northern Michigan.
I would agree. And the first, you and I are used to, like, when we went to Bragg the first time they had the first time riders meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, there's not really a meeting. But at first, when they said they're going to have a meeting every night, I said, what are you going to talk about every night? Like, this is where you're. But then what happened is I physically got to watch people on the road who were like, hey, have you guys seen Black Lake? Or am I supposed to be turning? The director talked about this. Have you guys seen that? And so them referencing that in the meeting then helped, I think, out on the road. So I thought it was a good safety mechanism. So I thought it was good.
Yeah.
I did miss something. In the interview that Neil gave with us in the beginning, he said there was going to be shower trucks. And maybe shame on me. Maybe shame on me. But then when we were in Bragg, we met the gentleman, and he said, oh, yeah, I'm providing selling. Or
one of the workers.
One of the workers.
Northern Exposure.
We're coming up to Bragg with a shower truck. And coming to Shoreline with a shower truck. And I said, oh, that's great. So when I was packing, I was thinking, well, and inside of the shower truck, they provide soap. They provide, a all-in-one shampoo soap mixture. And I thought, oh, that's great. I never saw a shower truck until the last night. And so
stopping by Dollar General.
I did. I did have to go to Dollar General. I had to go there because I'm a dummy and forgot my towel, but that's my own fault. But I had to also buy shampoo. So the lady was probably like, man, look at that old boy buying the shampoo and a towel. So, I
can't wait. If you keep this up, going to your guest bathroom and shower in the basement is going to be awesome, because I think you should put little tags. This was purchased at Dollar General in, Rogers City, Michigan. And you should just document every towel in there where you bought it from.
So I thought,
because you forgot your towel in Bragg too.
I know. And then, well, actually, I didn't forget my towel in Bragg. I actually brought my towel in Bragg.
You forgot to pick it up.
I put it over a chalkboard at the college, and I forgot to take it. And then 35 miles down the road, Virginia said, was that your towel? Now you're going to ask me if that's my towel? I'm like, yes, as a matter of fact, it was my towel. Oh, we were wondering. I'm like, did you happen to grab it? No. But that's okay.
But you know what? Some college student at Oxford College in Georgia got themselves a nice towel.
This is true. And I'm happy because I can't lie. The towels I usually take are the ones I'm allowed to take. So
there's the can take on a trip, and there's the do not leave the house with this towel.
Exactly.
Yep.
So my closing remarks on Shoreline is always love to take another adventure with you. I'm glad that our friend Juan and Amir came along. I am glad that we did it. I'm glad that we experienced another time. I thought there was some highs of the highs, and I also think there was some lows of the lows, but nothing so much so that that would restrict me from going back. Just might pack a little bit different, having a level of expectation. Some great memories. Meeting Amir was wonderful, and having some of his stories. I mean, the guy literally had video of climbing to Mount Kilimanjaro, and his stories were amazing. So sitting around at night when it was not a lot of places to go, I thought it was wonderful meeting him. Juan, if you know Juan, and we love him.
Juan is Juan. You gotta like Juan.
And as our friends call him, Juan F. I won't say his last name to be nice, but yeah, I think there was some good times and beautiful scenery. That is probably one of the most beautiful parts of Michigan. 7 days, beautiful weather. Last day, yeah, that's what makes you, I think, so
Makes you appreciate the other 7 is what it does.
Yeah, absolutely. And heat and hot water. And
Yeah.
so, but yeah, that's it. I mean, I just wanted to thank Neil and the LMB and
Absolutely.
and the SAG individuals who volunteered. And John, I know that I work with. I'd like to just give a little plug for that. He and I worked together on another initiative, and he was out there volunteering his time. So, John, thank you for everything. Great, another great adventure. So,
absolutely, I'll second that. It's always a good time cycling with you, and I enjoy it when we get to cycle new places, new adventures. So I'm looking forward to whatever our next one might be.
Probably not a ride in 2024, and I'm totally going off script here. But what is next for us in Cycling Men of Leisure? What we've got some ideas. We want to talk to the folks of Padres. We kind of missed out on a story that we went to Traverse City Whiskey Company, and unbeknownst to us, the people from not planned, but the people from Padres came and sat down next to us, and we got to build the bond more from the 2 nights before at the concert where they came up and talked to you, and then literally, I think at one time there must have been, I'm not kidding, 50, at least 50 glasses of whiskey on the table. Now, please understand that 40 of those were samplers or a flight.
We all bought flights, yeah. So,
but still, I mean, as far as you look down the table and as far as the eye could see, there was glass and whiskey. And so we all shared flights together. And I think you and I both had talked about seeing if the folks from Padres would come on the show to talk about, what they do and how they do it and rides that they have coming up. And so they were very receptive to that. And so we'd like to look at that.
Yeah, we got that. Next episode in 2 weeks after this one comes out. I'm not going to give too much away, but we are celebrating.
Oh,
that's all right. I'm going to say. It's going to be our celebration podcast. You'll have to tune in to find out what exactly we're celebrating and why. And then we've got a couple of other potential interviews of people that we had talked to in Georgia that we'd like to bring on that agreed to an interview. So it's just a matter of us syncing up with their schedule and that kind of stuff, which I think those would be really good. And then what's really going to be awesome is in November, we are going to do our 2nd annual Cyclist Christmas Wish List. And we did that last year.
Yep.
And in fact, I got a couple of those products and did reviews on them. So I think everybody seemed to like it. So we're going to do another one this year, and we'll do that in November. So we've got some good stuff coming up to finish out this year with.
And I got a message from our friend Matthew. Matthew's from Ohio. And if you please roll your Rolodex back in your memory, Matthew did us a huge favor. We landed in Brunswick, and Matthew gave us a ride. And he reached out to me today for someone who he really thinks that we should interview, and I'm highly interested. So I'm going to be working on that lead. And
cool.
if that comes together, that would be a phenomenal interview. So thank you, Matthew, for listening. And also thank you for the recommendation. I'm definitely going to take that recommendation. So
awesome.
So that's it. We got a lot of stuff in the tank. We're not stopping. We both still highly enjoy this. And please remember that we do have 2 stores. If you're interested, we have our jersey store and we have our T-shirt and hat store, or tchotchke is always a
casual wear. Our casual wear store.
Casual wear.
And we have our technical store. How about
That's
that?
True. And let me tell you something. That jersey store is amazing. I can't believe the items that we're adding. So first, I would love to just have a jersey. Now, not only we have that, we have a whole slew of products. So kudos to the team at Jack Rue. I know that the gentleman said he was going to start listening. So I want to thank him for all the hard work that they put in. So
looks fantastic.
With that being said, you got anything else, my friend?
Well, I got another listener spotlight if you want to take some time.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are not going to leave you without another listener spotlight.
Okay, this episode's listener spotlight. The clues are as follows. This community began as a Native American settlement, and the name is derived from the indigenous people who lived there. It was settled when the Europeans came in. It was mostly settled by German and Scotch-Irish farmers in the mid-1800s, and the town was incorporated in the 1880s. The early economy was based around textile mills. The railroad arrived in the late 1880s, which provided them with a direct access to markets such as Atlanta. And that railroad became a central focus of the community. One attraction of this community is a 100-plus-year-old bridge. And the town has a connection to the U.S.'s recognition of the Republic of Texas. Now, I think this is difficult. I threw in a couple of bones for you in these. So if you were listening to the clues, I threw in a couple bones to help narrow down your radius of thinking about this. Hopefully you caught those.
Okay.
You got a guess?
Guess
Dallas,
Texas.
Dallas, Texas. Okay. I don't remember any indigenous people named Dallas or anything like that, but I'm not an expert, so who knows?
I had to throw a dart somewhere other than St. Louis, Missouri. So, and you said Republic of. My mind keeps thinking Republic of Texas, but all good. I just want to make my guess.
Yes.
So.
The town has a connection to the U.S.'s recognition of the Republic of Texas, which Dallas would probably qualify if you just looked at that one. But
see,
so there's our listener spotlight for this week. So,
well, a part of me is ending this on a sad note because usually we do 3 adventures throughout the summer. This year, it's only going to be 2 and only work out for 2 based upon my schedule and your schedule. And but that's okay. Maybe next year we'll make up for it. Maybe we'll do a couple weekend rides as opposed to big week-long adventures.
I think so. And you never know when we could hook up in the next 6 months or so and do something non-cycling. I think you were talking about golf at one time, or we just go hang out.
Buddy, I got lots of sky miles.
There you go. We could do something. We could go see the bridge in the listener spotlight segment there.
Is there a golf course there? On that note,
that I don't know.
I was going to say, and on that note, we will definitely say that in Shoreline, every day except for the last day.
was a great day for a bike ride.
Thank you, buddy.
Hey, you too.
Thank you for coming along with Adam and Michael on Road Adventures with Cycling Men of Leisure. If you have enjoyed this, please subscribe to the show on the podcast app of your choice.
Hey, we just wanted to remind you that we've got some really cool products at our jersey and our swag store.
That's right. You can visit cyclingmenofleisure.com. At the top of the page, you'll find our stores page. Click there. There's 2 QR codes. The one on the left has a J on it. That's the store for the jerseys. The one on the right is just a swag store. Has all kinds of different items. Kind of customizable. You can kind of make the swag the way you want it. If the QR codes are giving you an issue, don't worry. Underneath, there's 2 buttons that you can click on. Thank you, and have a great day.